Coming up on Chapman News, after an intense campaign, it's finally Election Day. Our Zarina Martine Baile talks with the first-time voters to get their perspective.
Also, we'll tell you about the final push by the presidential candidates, plus where they'll be as the results start coming in tonight.
I'm Jessica McCrory, reporting live from Chapman University's Student Union here in Orange County. As you can see behind me, the line of students getting ready to vote keeps growing. More on that, plus your weather and sports, coming up on Chapman News.
From Dodge College of Film and Media Arts, this is Chapman News.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on this Election Day. I'm Angela Hara.
And I'm Reese Velez.
While early voting started 11 days ago here in California, many people still prefer to vote on Election Day.
Chapman News reporter Jessica McCrory is live from our very own Chapman University Voting Center. Jessica?
Thanks, Angela and Reese. As you can see behind me, the line of students is continuing to grow here at Chapman University's Voting Center. This location is just one of the 184 voting locations here in Orange County and has been open since Saturday. I had the opportunity to speak with the OC Registrar of Voters, Bob Page, to get his insight on mail-in versus in-person voting.
Well, we traditionally see about 85% of ballots cast are by mail. Most of those will be early, some will be cast on Election Day. So we are seeing so far for this election a greater number of ballots coming in early than we have for several elections now. Not as many as we had in 2020 because that was kind of an anomaly with COVID. People were voting early, but more than we've had in any election since then have come into this point. But whether that means we'll have more voter turnout, it's kind of hard to say.
According to the Registrar's Office, more than 1.8 million people are registered to vote here in Orange County as of October 21st. I'm also told that over the past 3 months, there has been a significant increase in the number of younger voters, with just over 370,000 registered. The OC Registrar estimates that nearly 80% of this voter increase occurred over the last 3 months when Biden announced he would no longer seek re-election. Orange County has historically leaned red, but actually more Democrats are registered to vote now. Of course, it is still early in the election to tell, so tune back in at 8 p.m. for our special election newscast coverage. And there is still time to vote if you haven't, as all Orange County voting locations are open until 8 p.m. I'm Jessica McCrory reporting live. Back to you, Angela and Reese.
Thank you, Jessica. It's Election Day, a pivotal moment where voters make their voices heard. Let's take a look at where the presidential candidates spent their last day campaigning, and also where they will be today. Both candidates held events yesterday to encourage voting in key battleground states. Vice President Kamala Harris held a total of 5 events in Pennsylvania. Harris will host an election night party at her alma mater, Howard University. Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump visited 3 key swing states, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Michigan. Trump cast his ballot today and thanked poll workers in Florida. He will spend the day in Mar-a-Lago and is expected to host an election night party in West Palm Beach.
Of course, all eyes are on the swing states, which are all but certain to decide the presidential winner. These include Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. In 2020, the Democratic nominee President Biden won all except for North Carolina. Recent polls show Trump with a narrow lead as of now in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Arizona. It's too close to call in North Carolina, Wisconsin, and in Michigan.
California voters are also electing a new U.S. Senator. Voters will choose between 64-year-old Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff and 75-year-old Republican and former LA Dodgers star Steve Garvey. The Senate seat became open with the death of Dianne Feinstein in September of 2023. Today, voters will choose a candidate for a 2-month term ending in January of 2025 and the standard 6-year term beginning in January. Political analysts have called this race non-competitive, noting that Schiff has held a sizable lead in the polls for several months. There are 4 local congressional races.
That's right. Let's take a look at some of the candidates. In California's 40th Congressional District, it's Republican Representative Young Kim versus Democrat challenger Joe Kerr. Incumbent Kim is one of the first Korean-American women to serve in Congress. She is seeking a 3rd term. Kerr is a retired firefighter who served as an Orange County Fire Authority captain for 34 years. District 40 covers eastern Orange County. That includes Aliso Viejo, Lake Forest, Mission Viejo, Rancho Santa Margarita, Tustin, and Villa Park. It also includes Corona and Riverside County and Chino Hills in San Bernardino County. Republicans hold the advantage in this district.
In the 45th Congressional District, a heated race between Republican Congresswoman Michelle Steele and Democrat Derek Tran. The district covers all of Fountain Valley, Garden Grove, Westminster, Cypress, Buena Park, La Palma, Placentia, parts of Fullerton, plus Brea and Yorba Linda. Incumbent Steele has called Tran soft on communism, while Tran accuses Steele's family of having improper ties to Chinese officials. The district leans conservative, but went for President Biden in 2020, making it a key battleground. Both candidates are heavily courting the district's Vietnamese voters, with Steele accusing Tran of not being able to represent the district because he is not fluent in Vietnamese.
Looking at the 46th Congressional District, Democratic incumbent Lou Correa is running against Republican David Pan. The 66-year-old Correa is running for fifth term. The district includes the cities of Santa Ana, Stanton, and Correa's hometown of Anaheim. Correa is a member of the Blue Dogs, a congressional coalition whose members say they are, quote, fiscally responsible Democrats. Pan is a 61-year-old professor at UC Irvine, where he teaches German. He has advocated for universal basic income, $16,000 a year for every American starting at the age of 21.
There's also an open seat in one of the congressional races here in Orange County. District 47 includes the coastal cities of Huntington, Newport, and Seal Beach, as well as Irvine. Democrat Katie Porter is the current representative, but she will leave Congress in January after an unsuccessful bid for the U.S. Senate. The tight race for her spot is between Democratic State Senator Dave Min and Republican business owner Scott Baugh. It's considered a significant contest in that outside groups have spent more than $10 million for advertising. Now, there are 10 propositions on California's ballot this year.
That's right. Let's take a look at what they could mean for the state.
Prop 2 asks voters to authorize a $10 billion bond to repair and build public schools and community colleges.
Prop 3 would amend the state constitution to guarantee the right to marriage, regardless of sex or race. It would remove language in the state constitution stating that marriage is only between a man and a woman.
Prop 4 would authorize a $10 billion bond, which would pay for climate and environmental programs to support safe drinking water, wildfire prevention, and protection of natural lands.
Prop 5 would make it easier for local governments to borrow money for affordable housing and public infrastructure by lowering the voter approval requirement from 2/3 to 55%.
Prop 6 would amend the state constitution so involuntary servitude is not permitted in prisons. This means California jails and prisons can't force inmates to work while serving their sentences.
And Prop 32 would raise the state minimum wage to $18 an hour for companies with more than 25 employees.
Prop 33 gives cities the power to set rent control for any kind of housing, rather than letting landlords set their own rental rates.
Prop 34 would require certain health care providers who get federal drug discounts to spend 98% of their funds on direct patient care.
Prop 35 would establish a permanent tax on managed healthcare plans, funding Medi-Cal healthcare services.
Lastly, Prop 36 would allow for felony charges and increase sentences for those convicted of possessing certain drugs and also thefts under $950.
Many law enforcement agencies have thrown their support behind Prop 36. Currently, specific drug charges plus theft under $950 are misdemeanors, but Prop 36 would make those felony charges if defendants have 2 prior convictions. Prop 36 also introduces an option for mandated treatment on certain drug possession cases where defendants would face up to 3 years in prison if they fail to complete the treatment. Orange County Sheriff's Department Chief of Staff, Ray Grangoff, says that Prop 36 also targets the fentanyl crisis.
Cocaine and methamphetamine. Right now, you can face a greater penalty under California law for trafficking those drugs than you do fentanyl, even though fentanyl is more dangerous. So this corrects that disparity and makes fentanyl warners eligible for a higher sentence.
Other supporters of Prop 36 argue that it would make California communities safer by, quote, addressing rampant theft and drug trafficking. But opponents say that it would reignite the failed war on drugs by, quote, wasting billions on prisons while slashing funding for victims and rehabilitation.
Here in the city of Orange, residents will decide whether or not to approve a new measure calling for a half-point sales tax increase. Measure Z would cost each household in Orange an average of $400 a year. The city of Orange faces an increasing annual budget shortfall. The city says the money raised by the higher sales tax would be used to improve services, including police and fire. Orange City firefighters say they are in need of equipment upgrades. The union president, Miguel Gonzalez, says, quote, our fire engines do not meet National Fire Protection Association personnel staffing standards. We fear that further cuts will prevent us from providing the service that the city of Orange currently receives and deserves. Should it pass, Orange would be one of the top 10 cities in Orange County with the highest sales tax. Today, on the ballot, Orange residents will decide if 10-year investment is worth it.
We have more election news coming up in this hour. You'll hear from first-time voters. And join us later at 8 p.m. live on YouTube or Channel 6 here in Orange. We'll have the latest national and local election results.
That's right. Development in the investigation of Anaheim streetcar racing accident that left 2 people seriously injured.
I'm Stephen Hogenkamp, and after the break, we'll talk about the major floods that hit Valencia, Spain this past week. That and your national and local forecasts after the break.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover their unique mix of all kinds of traits.
Where'd Wiley go? Where's Wiley? Ah, there she is. Paw?
Do you remember being an ancient wolf? Do you ever feel the call of the wild?
You're a renegade cop, and I'm a con woman with nothing to prove. But together, we could really solve this murder.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but all of them are pure love.
An arrest has been made following a recent illegal street racing incident in Anaheim, which left 2 pedestrians pinned under a car. The incident took place in early hours of the morning last Friday in East Orangewood Avenue and State College Boulevard in Anaheim, just outside of Chapman Court. Streetcar racers took over the intersection, and during the chaos, a Dodge Charger struck the crowd of onlookers, pinning 2 teenagers under the vehicle. Anaheim Police Sergeant Matt Sutter says the 20-year-old driver who fled the scene has now been arrested. The teenagers are recovering from their injuries.
Although most women who lost their jobs during the pandemic have returned to the workforce, new findings reveal the cost of their absence. The U.S. Census report says in 2023, the gender wage gap increased for the first time in over 20 years. Women working full-time earned 83 cents on the dollar compared to men, a step down from the historic high of 84 cents in 2022. Chapman management scientist Professor Sarah Bana says although the gap has widened, the economy may be looking up for women.
One silver lining, I think, that occurred as a result of the pandemic was the rise of remote and hybrid work. We're more likely to be able to work from home some of the time. And I think that this, in the longer term, is going to also have a big effect on the gender wage gap.
The gender wage gap means that women earn $11,550 less per year than the median annual income of men.
Orange County has some of the healthiest schools in the country. The Alliance for a Healthier Generation recently cited several schools for, quote, fostering healthy environments for their students. Here are the 6 Orange County schools, part of the 800 recognized nationally for their efforts to prioritize the physical and mental health of their students. This can include improving access to nutritious foods, wellness policies, and health education. For the full list of schools, visit healthiergeneration.org.
A major renovation to the Platinum Triangle in Anaheim is well underway. That's the commercial area that includes the sports venues, the Honda Center, and the Angel Stadium. The OC Vibe project will turn the Platinum Triangle into a mixed-use district featuring new high-density housing, office towers, and concert venues. A planned 100-acre mixed-use complex has seen major construction progress in the past few months. While the entire project will not be finished until 2029, Phase 1 is expected to be completed in 2026, with 2 new parking structures next to the Honda Center.
A Chapman University alum has a message for aspiring entrepreneurs. Brittany Scheffler is the CEO of Frost Fund, a nonprofit here in Orange County with a mission to educate the community about responsible pet ownership. This past week, Scheffler spoke with Chapman students about the importance of pursuing their passions to make a difference in the world.
Every single one of us, in one form or another, has the opportunity and I believe the responsibility to make a difference in the lives of animals. For me, I had a desire to make a difference. I had zero desire to make a business. But I've made a business. I'm going to come to you so that I can make a difference. That's been my path.
Scheffler encouraged students hoping to start their own businesses to be involved in the community, seek out partnerships, and to always support those who are supporting you.
Recently, our reporter Serena Martin Baile had a chance to sit down with 2 first-time voters here in the studio.
Let's take a look at what each had to say about the presidential election.
Thanks, guys. Joining me today in the studio, we have Zach and Sean, and we're here to discuss just a little bit about what matters most to college students and first-time voters. So could each of you please describe your political affiliation?
I am Zach. I'm the Vice President of Chapman Republicans here, and as such, I'm a registered Republican. I'm right-wing. I'm conservative.
I'm Sean. I'm a registered Democrat. I would describe myself as progressive on social issues and center-left on economic issues.
Now, of course, the candidates are Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. What do you guys think about the campaigning that they've done over the last few months?
Really emphasizing things like women's freedoms and reproductive rights, things like that. I like how much energy that's brought into the race. In terms of Donald Trump, what little I will say about that is that I think it's a little ironic that when he's performing the best in this campaign, it's when he's not appearing on the trail.
She started strong. She started with a lot of energy and charisma. I won't deny that. But at the same time, in the last week, you've seen a massive reversal. The betting odds alone were from her at 60% to now Trump at like 65%.
Perfect. And are you guys getting your information about the candidates and their policies through social media? If not, how else are you getting your information?
I can go ahead and speak on that first. Sometimes I'll see like headlines, or I'll catch headlines on social media, but for the most part, I try to actively seek out information and try to actively seek out the headlines and what's new in the world. So usually I'll just go straight to a wide variety of news sources rather than just kind of wait for it to trickle down to me in social media.
What I tend to do is if I ever see a headline of sorts, I don't really read the article. I go straight to the primary source and say, hey, what do these documents actually say? Because the last 5 years of me doing this, and I'm not a politics guy first, don't get me wrong, I'm a computer science guy, right? But I want to know what's exactly going on, what people are exactly saying, because I know how easy it is to mispurport something or have your intentions be taken wrong. So when I'm going to the primary sources, right, with for instance, you have the party platform available, right?
Thank you both so much for joining us today. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Serena. This past week, Spain was hit with huge floods that caused major damage and left several dead.
Our weather reporter Stephen Hogenkamp has the latest. Stephen.
Thank you, Angela and Reese. Behind me is a satellite look of the east coast of Spain on October 8th and then also on October 30th, the day the flood hit near Valencia, Spain. And as you can see, the coastal region was absolutely ravaged by the water that came in off the coast, now with the death toll at 218 and counting. Some parts of Valencia received 400 liters per meter, or almost 16 inches of rain in 8 hours alone. This is the equivalent to 1 year's worth of rain in the area. Jorge Alsina, director of the Observatory of Climatology at the University of Alicante, stated, quote, "The meteorological alert did not alert the citizens properly and on time." Now, another weather pattern that we are starting to track is La Niña, which is expected to once again impact our weather here on the West Coast. Now, La Niña is the opposite of El Nino, which we're more used to wetter, stormier conditions here in Southern California. But this is now going to be pushed up north to Northern California, to the Pacific Northwest in that territory, leaving them with that stormy weather, and it's going to leave a lot more dry conditions here in Southern California. And though that may sound appealing to SoCal natives, Good Day LA meteorologist Maria Quaban explains why this may cause issues.
As we look at the upcoming season, we have to talk about mitigating fire and fire danger because of all the dry fuels that we will probably have, and potentially a severe drought.
From 2012 to 2016, California experienced their most severe drought on record and is now expected to enter back into that drought. Now, taking a look at our national forecast, we're going to start on the West Coast. And as talked about with La Niña, that weather pattern is going to be moving up north. So in Seattle, they're going to be met with low to mid 50 weather. They may have a chance of rain and snow towards the end of the day, but wind gusts up to 15 miles an hour. And then these desert areas where now we're just a week into November and weather is starting to dimmer down. We have a very hot political climate, but the weather specifically in terms of temperatures is slowing down. Then going over to Denver, this is a very important thing. 54 degrees, but expecting 1 to 3 inches of snow towards the night. How will that affect polling? People going to the polls after work, will they still go with that snow? We know people in Denver are used to that type of weather, but how will that affect how they poll? Now, going over to the Midwest, the Southwest area, look at all this rain coming up towards the north. It is going to be very heavy throughout this area, specifically Houston and Little Rock. Expecting just a few inches there, but lightning and thunderstorms. How will this affect how they poll? How many people will still turn up to voting centers to cast their vote? And then moving upwards, Chicago, it's known as the Windy City, 35-inch wind gusts expected towards the end of this day, and having some chance of rain here and in Minneapolis, and it's going to get very cold. How will they still turn up to vote? Then moving over to our East Coast, Miami, very typical weather in terms of little rain, maybe a little heat, some humidity, but up to 41 miles per hour of rain, of wind gusts, and a half inch of rain. And then as you move up towards the Northeast, very typical that we see low to mid 70s, may have a chance of rain up in the Northeast of New York. But the big news, Denver, Houston, Little Rock, how will their polls show up with this expected temperature? Now taking a look at our local news here in Orange. Right now it's just around 77 degrees. We do have some cloud coverage and expect a wind advisory at around 7 p.m. tonight as the Santa Ana winds start to move in. Finally, we'll go to our OC forecast, where very typical weather that we've seen where our coastal regions, Newport, Long Beach, Laguna, and San Clemente, you'll see very windy there, around high 60s to low 70s. And then as you move more inland, you'll get into a little more drier weather with low to mid 70s in those particular areas. Then lastly, we'll move to our 5-day Fenestra forecast, where it's very similar weather throughout the entire week, mid to high 70s, and it'll even reach 80 towards the end of the week. But as you can see, it's going to get really cold towards the end of the night. With the Santa Ana winds moving in, it's going to be very chilly at night. So towards that end of the week, if you're expecting to go out, make sure to bring sweaters, long pants to account for that cold weather. But that's all for today. I'm Stephen Hogenkamp. Make sure to go vote today if you haven't already, and tune in next week for more weather stories.
Thanks, Stephen. I'm Ingrid Lee. A popular soccer club tries to recover from a devastating start to its season. That story and more sports news coming up.
Difference can one vote make? Since 2023, more than 60 U.S. elections have been tied or won by just one vote. So this fall, your friend could be the tiebreaker. And that could make all the difference. People are more likely to vote when encouraged by a friend. So use your power to decide this election. Make sure you're good to vote and encourage your friends to make a voting plan at votevotevote.com.
Will likely see
Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzzed and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So, yeah, I know. That's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
In this election season, it's not just the candidates that have been debating. Jubilee is a popular YouTube channel with over 9 million subscribers. The channel's content is mainly social experiments. They recently hosted unique political debates, some of which have gone viral. One video titled, "Can 25 liberal college students outsmart one conservative?" has over 14 million views, with clips also going viral on TikTok. Chapman University junior Emily Suge was featured in the video.
To get young people involved and want to be involved in politics, however way, shape, or form they can, even though it is a little divisive and more clickbaity. I think it gets people interested and it gets people talking about these issues that matter.
Social media videos such as these are sparking many conversations online about the election for many first-time Gen Z voters.
If you've ever wondered how it'd feel to have a conversation with celebrities, now is your chance. Meta's artificial AI-powered chat box will now read aloud its response to users in the AI voice of celebrities. These are including Awkwafina, Kristen Bell, Judi Dench, John Cena, and Keegan-Michael Key. The feature comes at no cost to users and can be found in all Meta apps like Instagram and Facebook. A frequent Meta user, Ella Abergale, she says she doesn't think she'll be using the new feature.
I'll probably start using AI any more than I would have already, because it's kind of useless to have. I'm if I wanted to listen to Dylan O'Brien's voice, I would just Google him. It's really not that deep. I don't need AI to talk to me, so.
Meta says it will continue to work on, quote, more generic voice options in the future. Well, this past weekend had some surprising wins in sports.
Our sports reporter Ingrid Lee has the latest. Ingrid?
Thanks, Reese and Angela. Welcome back to the Panther Sports Roundup, where we've got all the latest in the world of sports. We will be seeing some new faces on the sidelines for the Las Vegas Raiders in 2 weeks when the team plays the Miami Dolphins. The Raiders fired 3 members of its coaching staff, including offensive coordinator Luke Getsy, against a 41-24 loss against the Cincinnati Bengals Sunday night. The team is adding on Norv Turner to its offensive coaching staff. The team with the most English football titles in the Premier League just had the worst start to its season in almost 40 years. LA Dodger fans are still celebrating the team's World Series win over the New York Yankees. It's the Dodgers' second World Series win in 5 years. The Yankees got out to a 5-run lead in the decisive 5th game, but poor defense gave LA the break they needed to tie the game with a 5-run 5th inning. Ace Walker Buehler then came out of the bullpen to secure the championship in the Bronx. Senior Series MVP and Orange native Freddie Freeman had this to say after winning his 2nd title and 1st with the Dodgers.
I did a lot of work in between the NLCS and the World Series, and thankfully my ankle got into a good spot where I could work on my swing, and I found a cue that really worked for me. And I was able to slow things down. I mean, all you're trying to do is swing at strikes, take balls, and hit the mistakes. And thankfully I was able to do that for 5 games.
An estimated 200,000 fans attended the Dodgers victory parade in Los Angeles last Friday. In addition to recent senior night celebrations, the Chapman football team has another reason to celebrate. The Panthers secured the Southern California Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, or SCIAC, Surf Division title this past weekend, with a 9-7 victory over the Claremont Mudscripts Stags. Wide receiver Tyler Pacheco's running touchdown and kicker Jax Hudson's 21-yard field goal gave Chapman the points necessary to take the lead. The game ended with a forced 56-yard field goal attempt from CMS, falling short and giving the Panthers the SCIAC championship matchup against Pomona Pitzer for the 2nd year in a row. Pacheco believes the victory was a team effort.
Oh yeah, man, you know, any given day, I got my guys against theirs, and I'm putting my money on my guys for sure.
The Panthers will travel to face the Laverne Leopards in the final game of the regular season this Saturday. That is all for the Panther Sports Roundup. I'm Ingrid Lee, and we'll see you next week for more sports.
Are you in need of a sweet treat? Stay tuned for the scoop on a new sweet shop here in OC.
I'm Caroline Linton. Coming up, we'll take a look at how some local elementary school kids are getting involved in the democratic process. That story and more after the break.
You are in the middle of a game. You are in the middle of a game. Adrenaline coursing through your body. And you are calling the shots. Feel the power as you control the game's narrative. From commentator to camera virtuoso, replay wizard to unyielding director. There is no better experience than being in the moment. Challenge your limits and embrace the electrifying rush that comes with the crowd's roar. You never know the epic plays you will capture and the masterpiece you could make. You could be an amateur learning on the fly or a pro wanting to expand your skills. You will always fit in. And what better place to broadcast your skills than in sports? Never knowing what is coming next and always coming across something new. Join the Chapman Sports Broadcasting Network and experience the thrill of life.
A popular Australian-based gelato restaurant has opened its first California location here in Orange County. Gelatissimo first opened in 2002 in Sydney, Australia. It now has 3 U.S. locations, including a new shop on Balboa Island. Chapman alumnus and store owner Ray Menina says it's all about making customers happy.
In other stores, and what I've seen also, just from talking to people here as we build out, our people are going to walk in with a smile on their face, and I want them to walk out with a bigger smile on their face.
Gelatissimo's pistachio, chocolate mint, and espresso flavors won 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place respectively at the World Dairy Championship last year.
Well, today the focus on voters 18 and older, but some younger future voters have been learning all about how the U.S. elections work.
Our feature reporter Caroline Linton has some local kids and the election. Caroline?
Thanks, Angie and Reese. All across the country, people are hitting the polls in order to do their part for democracy here in the U.S. Kids today are learning about this civic responsibility at an early age. I went to California Academy here in Orange to find out more. Take a look. After an exciting day of Dia de los Muertos festivities, the 6th graders of California Elementary returned to the classroom to learn about the vital history and tenets of democracy.
Why is it important to vote, and what happens if you don't vote?
Stephanie Santel teaches her students more than just what the voting process looks like.
We talk a lot about you are our future. You are eventually going to be 18 and have that responsibility to be able to vote and be an active citizen. We also talked about how there's only 60% of people actually vote. And so if you're not one of them, you won't get represented if you don't go out there and vote. So we've been talking about their future and how they are going to be active members of society.
Even at the age of 11 or 12, these students realize the importance of representation and are forming their own belief systems.
They're supporting you and what you believe in. If you believe this, you vote for that one. If you believe that, you vote for the other one. Yeah.
As long as they're really polite and they are deciding to do good things for the planet, I feel I would vote for them instead of the people who are trying to take away our rights.
I want to vote for the person who can help the country better than the person who won't help the country as much.
They also think all kids should be learning this important lesson in civic responsibility.
I feel it's important that I'm learning it here because when I'm older, I'm going to have all the information that I need to be able to vote. It would be important so we know the right things to look for in that person.
Yeah, I think it's very important. So they know what's democracy and how's it and how they can vote and the good decisions they can make.
They are excited to vote when they are 18, and many of them have even bigger goals.
Plan on being president by then. This world needs some changes.
Now, these young ones won't be able to actually vote for 2 more elections, but we can rest easy knowing a new generation of voters are getting a good education on civic responsibility. If you haven't already, make sure to go out and vote today. I'm Caroline Linton. Back to you, Angie and Reese.
And a reminder, join us later starting at 8 p.m. for your full election coverage.
We will be bringing you the latest on local and national results. Watch us live on YouTube or on Channel 6 here in Orange. That's all we have for you guys this week's edition of Chapman News. I'm Angela Hara.
And I'm Reese Velez. Remember, there's still time to vote if you have not already. We'll see you next week.